Namaste and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. I have my favorite guest, one of the favorite guests of Sattology, Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinaji. And you know his past sessions. Do watch his playlist. There's a playlist of his on our channel. Today's show is going to be very, very interesting. How did America lose an F-18 in the Red Sea? मजा आएगा आपको सुन के. Without delay, let us welcome Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinaji. Welcome to the show.
Aditya ji, namaskar. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Always a pleasure being with you on your show. I know we haven't met for some time now because you yourself have become a podcast star, and I see you in many Indian podcasts, and you have done well to bring out those points and the manner in which you bring out. So, my compliments, congratulations to you to start with.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. All your blessings, sir.
the aircraft carrier, it's. I always say that aircraft carrier is a ship, all right, but it is a township. It's not a warship. The reason is this ship is so huge that commanding officer alone cannot keep track of everything that is happening. And we always tell our carrier captains, when I was fleet commander, fleet operation officer, I used to tell my carrier captain that concentrate on few core issues and identify what all can go wrong. Call your captain air, who is the air boss, he will tell you. And see that the safety of men, material is not compromised. For us, safety of men and material is most important. No, material means everything. Now, I read about it because the whatever happens in Red Sea, we are a lot of our one of our ships is first-hand witness to this. Now, apparently, this aircraft, the F-18, was being towed to the lift, which would have taken it down further into the hangar. As you know, hangars are all below deck. There's nothing on top deck because it's basically a runway, if you like. And that is when one of the missiles, which was apparently launched by the Houthis, it was coming for the aircraft carrier. And there was a requirement for the commanding officer to take a avoiding action. In that, it calls for a very violent alteration of the course of the ship. Now, there may have been an announcement that ship is now altering violently all positions to exercise caution. That is a normal call we give. And I'm sure that even the US Navy carrier would have done it. But the what is called the sideways force, which was acting on the tractor and the aircraft. It was all connected. That it lost the stability of its being in one place, and it got thrown out from the ship into the water. Now, if you see, it is quite a serious matter that you have lost a F-18 fighter aircraft, and the tractor is okay, minor issue. And I believe the commanding officer was taken off duty, and some other commanding officer was there. I would say that's the easy thing to do. What should have been identified, and I'm sure they would have done a court martial, a board of inquiry, whatever, and they would have found out that in normal case, the aircraft carriers that we are operating, in normal case, in restricted space like Red Sea, through which the ship was passing, we avoid any large maneuvers of aircraft when they are not under power, when they are not under their own power. And second thing is, if the aircraft is switched off and you want to position it in a safe area before you take it down, then before the aircraft switches off, we put the hook up and taxi the aircraft under marshal closer to an area which is called graveyard, right? From there, it is easy to take the
What
aircraft
is
into the
what is graveyarder?
graveyard. Is a parking place for aircraft which are dead, if you
Okay.
like. Dead meaning it is not under its own power. That's
Mhm.
just it's a colloquial slang name given. A lot of naval terms, a lot of terms are like this. So normally that is what we do, but there may have been some compulsion that it was not parked near the graveyard, and it had to be towed. It can happen. But doing business, we avoid doing when the ship is underway. The ship is underway means it's propelling under its own power, because that too in an area like Red Sea, where Houthis have been attacking this aircraft carrier, and I think it was Truman, if I'm not wrong, that this all movement on the hangar should be avoided. There are always announcement, that high maneuvering is in progress. People are to exercise caution, clear of the upper decks. Because if aircraft can go, even people can get thrown out. And our first concern should be safety. So I would think that the board of inquiry or court martial would have found out as to what should be done to avoid prevent the recurrence. That should be the aim. Punishment and all is fine. It's like a deterrence. But I would say that you see the aircraft are parked there right in front. These are possibly serviceable aircraft. They will ultimately move under their own power, go right till the end of the deck on the far end, and then line up so that they are positioned on the catapult. But the lifts are behind, and therefore, once the aircraft has landed or trapped, as they call it, then put the hook up and ask the aircraft to taxi right at the back. You see, there are two aircraft parked.
Yes.
It's close to the lift.
Yes.
So try and put those aircraft who are not flying in that area. Okay, and once the aircraft is parked, it is tied with chains. The wheels, nose wheel, main wheel, they will all be secured with the chains, cables, and these chains they have a place in the aircraft made for that, in a naval aircraft. Another end has got a clamp which hooks on to rings which are deck rings. So on the aircraft carrier, you will find large number of these deck rings all over the place. So that wherever the aircraft is, you should find this ring and just secure it firmly with a chain cable. It gives it you that much of strength. So I think there may have been some fault in some procedure somewhere. Either the aircraft and the tractor was too far ahead, too far ahead in the forecastle, in the forward area, or it was stopped and not secured with the chain cable. One of the two, possibly. But I would say that aircraft carrier is a big township. Things can go wrong, things will go wrong, and therefore one should be ready that try and avoid those things going wrong wherever there is a lacuna. Try sort out as many things possible. But I would say that aircraft carrier accidents do take place. But unfortunately for Truman, that it happened one after other. I think they lost two aircraft in a quick succession. So obviously they possibly, if it was for the same reason, then possibly not enough lessons were learned. But U.S. Navy has been flying, for a very very long time. They have flown. In fact, they started flying from the aircraft carrier. They were the first ones to do it, and the Britishers came little later. So I would say that yes, this loss is a loss, but accidents like this do take place on aircraft carrier, and occasionally one must learn lessons and see that it does not happen again. But I believe the both aircraft were lost one by one, probably for the same reason, though I'm not aware of what happened to the other one. But surely it just fell off the deck. So that's what I have to say.
No, very interesting information, and I think you are the best person to tell us about the aircraft carrier operations. Now, I just heard from one of the commentaries which are coming on the Am- American channels. So they उन्होंने बोला कि Indian Navy aircraft operations are something to learn from, get inspired from. Yet very few accidents happen on the Indian Navy ships. As a comments I like, how do you, why do you think that Americans are, what is there in Indian Navy aircraft operations which others want to learn? What is that?
देख, पहली बात तो ये है कि बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया जिन्होंने ये कहा है. आई एम वेरी प्लीज टू हियर बिकॉज हैविंग ऑपरेटेड फॉर more than a decade from aircraft carriers and controlling all that as a fleet operation officer and a fleet commander is very pleasing to hear that. But I've been to US aircraft carriers as well. The procedures by and large are similar, not same. Um, maybe, if that is the impression, because aircraft carriers, there are only two with the Indian Navy. Aircraft are not as much as the US Navy has got. And therefore, each aircraft is treated with a lot of care and caution because you have lesser number of aircraft and you have live enemy, who where you will be required to deliver weapons at short notice. You saw what happened in Op Sindur. Both our aircraft carriers were out, and they were on the Makaran coast. So uh, we really make sure that things don't go wrong. But as I said, its ship is quite big. Ours is a 45,000 ton Vikramaditya. It can go wrong. But we do take extra precaution in handling of aircraft on the deck. Uh, and because the numbers are not very large like the US carrier, possibly we are a little more careful and follow the let down rules, regulations very religiously. ऑन द फ्लाइट डेक आदित्य जी, फ्लाइट डेक पे हमारे 3 फ्लाइट डेक ऑफिसर होते हैं. FDO, फ्लाइट डेक ऑफिसर 1, फ्लाइट डेक ऑफिसर 2, फ्लाइट डेक ऑफिसर 3. और उसमें से कम 2 हमेशा प्रेजेंट होते हैं, एक फॉरवर्ड एरिया में, एक पीछे के एरिया में. और वो अपना डंडा घुमाते रहते हैं जितने वहाँ पे लोग काम कर रहे हैं. दोज हु आर नॉट ऑन द वॉच, they are prohibited from coming onto flight deck. You just can't go. Only people who are on watch who go. Number two, apart from this, one of the senior most rating below officer rank, हमारे यहाँ मास्टर चीफ पेटी ऑफिसर बोलते हैं, आई थिंक फ्लीट चीफ कहते हैं शायद वहाँ पे. तो हमारे यहाँ मास्टर चीफ पेटी ऑफिसर जो होते हैं, ही इज अपॉइंटेड बाय नेवल हेडक्वार्टर एज कैप्टन ऑफ द फ्लाइट डेक. Now he's got a lot of powers. In fact, on the flight deck, he's more powerful than the captain of the ship. And mind you, he is not an officer, below officer rank. And captain of the flight deck, he can tick off even an officer who's not properly dressed, who's not following safety precaution on the flight deck. So that is the kind of power which has been given to him. And he is the guy who makes sure that everybody, any aircraft being towed, any aircraft coming in to be launched, any aircraft recovered, he is in the vicinity. And he's only bullying shouting at the guys who are not doing their job properly. So this is all to ensure safety. Powers have been given. As I said, captain of flight deck he is not an officer. He's a below officer rank. He's a fleet chief, and he can tick off even the commanding officer. There have been officers who have come and complained that so and so the flight deck, the captain of the flight deck was harsh with me, etc. He will, after the work, he'll come back and apologize also. He'll tell you, sir, I'm very sorry I had to do this, but there is absolutely no margin of error on the flight deck. Unlike US carriers, our carrier is not so big. When there are large carriers, it is possible to get into little bit of relaxed sort of atmosphere, little bit of I can't say complacency, but possibly that there is, since there is a lot of room for error, and some point in time, people have got away with the errors, uh, and and that could be one of the reasons of complacency. Like, कुछ नहीं होगा, ठीक है, इतना चलता है, दे तो हो जाएगा. Whereas in a smaller carrier like Indian Navy, we there is no chalta hai on the flight day. No, because we know that it is question of losing or saving, and therefore uh, we have had accident. We have a one crane was not secured properly. There are crane on the flight deck to pick up damaged aircraft. Crane was not secured properly. In one of these maneuvers like this, the crane fell off overboard. So board of inquiry actually was done, and the punishment was quite heavy for the team which did not secure it properly. They had just one cable tied to the to the crane, and the weight of the crane was such that this one cable could not have held it. It required at least three. So it was possibly a warning that आज आपका क्रेन गया है, हो सकता है कल हवाई जहाज चला जाए. तो ये India is not such a rich country. Every aircraft loss means a lot to us. Very difficult to get a replacement. Very expensive aircraft, as you know, from our standard of GDP. So I think that possibly we have too much of precaution. We follow, we emerged from the Royal Navy. I did my training on Royal Navy ship landing the Harrier. Uh, and we have been operating the aircraft carrier since 1961, Aditya ji.
I
Which,
love Sea Harriers. I just love Sea Harriers.
yeah, no, unfortunately, they have finished their time and they have retired now. So we follow those rules ourselves. And I must tell you that later on, as a rear admiral, I was invited to one Royal Navy ship to see the flying operations off Goa in Arabian Sea. And I was quite disappointed that the people who taught us aircraft carrier operation, flight deck operation, they were not up to the mark. I couldn't help but tell the fleet commander, हमने कहा कि admiral, I think you have had a little bit of downward trend, and he agreed. And the reason he gave was that the Harrier force had become a joint fighter program. Air Force, Navy both were operating, and their officers were exchanged. The naval officers would go and fly in the Air Force units, RF. RF people would come to the ship. Now, here, the Air Boss was an Air Force wing commander. I don't blame him. For he's actually at sea when he's on the carrier. He's really at sea. So that was the reason. I said, yeah, but you got a commanding officer who's a very carrier-born pilot himself. He said, yes, sir, but I know how much can we keep track of all. I said, then you change the bloody rule. Why didn't you tell them that this is not a doable solution?
True.
You can have flying Harriers similar type, very close to each other. I also flown Royal Air Force Harrier. Also, I've flown the Royal Navy Harrier. I've flown our own Harrier. So the point is that yes, I agree, and do that only to the squadrons which are not embarking. When it is to embark the aircraft carrier, don't use them for appointments of the ship. Appoint them only for flying job, right? Because that is what is common thing. Carrier operation, a different ballgame, and I think that we know that now we have two aircraft carriers, and touchwood so far we are okay. We haven't lost any aircraft, and I hope we don't in incidents of this nature.
So I couple of years back I saw the display of Sea Harriers at the US Marine Base in San Diego, and beautiful aircrafts, like one of the most good looking aircrafts, old timers. I found it very impressive, hovering over, standing in the air, and much more easier Then even F-35, both were flying together. So we saw that.
But Aditya, I must tell you, F-35 has got three versions. The version which the Marines are flying, 35B, that is a vertical takeoff landing. It is built on the Harrier only.
Correct.
So Marines haven't lost the art of vertical takeoff landing.
Mm,
They still have F-35B because it operates from their aircraft carriers. Marines have got, Harrier carriers as they call it. It's an aircraft carrier. It
yes.
belongs to the Marines. And that aircraft is just exactly like a Harrier. Of course,
Mm,
it's technology-wise it's much advanced, but it is one version is a vertical takeoff landing,
mm,
35B, I think.
35B.
I
That's what
do
we saw.
see. I see Air Force 35B flying around. I think it is based in Yuma,
Hmm.
uh, and right now I'm sitting in Queen Creek in Arizona, and it got next to Mesa runway, Mesa Gateway. So these aircraft come for some flying practice, and I see them almost every day. They come fly past, so I keep telling myself why am I here? Why I'm not in the cockpit?
No. Uh, one general question everyone has, like, how were Houthis able to target American ships? They should not be able to target it. I mean, that's why I think the American report said that the Indian carriers are far more better defended, actually better defended. Why do you think they could be able to target an American aircraft carrier?
See, the fact that they did not succeed in hitting it, that you must grant it to the carrier,
Correct.
must grant it to the fleet commander.
90,000 ton ship.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean almost a lakh ton is huge. Maneuvering a 1 lakh ton ship, I can imagine. I was commanding a tanker which was about 30,000 tons. That itself was quite a. You have to anticipate so much because you apply some rudder angle and after some time it starts turning. Huge hulk, you see. So it requires that kind of pressure on the rudder. Then the momentum of the ship takes its own time. See the in our case the I would say that Houthis were managing to attack because it had a complete backup support of Iran. Okay. Now they also have developed this operations room in Yemen, and they also monitor all the traffic which is coming into through the Suez Canal into the Red Sea. All the movements of the ships are by and large known. Because when you cross the Suez Canal, one has to make a request and then they cross. After that, if they have not left, then they have got their own intelligence mechanism. So they know where the aircraft carrier is, and thereafter, targeting is the easier part. Once you know the position, the location, you know the latitude, longitude, and you certainly they are getting a satellite feed, and that can happen only Iran. And I won't be surprised if
Do
other countries.
Do Iran have their own satellites?
No, but they
S-
use satellite. They use Chinese satellites.
So China.
China gives them the satellite picture, and I would very seriously think that the Chinese had a hand in all this because if you look at the ability of Houthis, uh, while it is true that they got the human intelligence, they've got intelligence by means of having the radar stations on their coastline. Those things are there, and that those can also give you very accurate positioning because the Red Sea is not very wide, so the radar can cover almost half of it, width-wise. So that is a very short method. But I would like to believe that there's an organization called International Maritime Organization (IMO), and every ship which is sailing is supposed every ship has got an IMO number, and they all transmit on the automatic identification system AIS. Now this AIS keeps transmitting and gives out the position of the ship. Normally the warships don't transmit so that you will not reveal your position. But the merchant ships, they they have to reveal their position where they are because it's safety, maritime safety. In that, their IMO number comes, and if you go and punch on that IMO number on the data wall, it'll give you all details. What is the name of the ship? What is the cargo? Where is it going? How many people are on board? And things of that nature. So that in case there is an emergency, people should be able to reach out. Warships don't do that. But then it also makes life easier for people who are looking on the radar. If the radar has got, let us say, 10 contacts, there are 10 vessels looking, there are 10 of them. And only 8 of them have got IMO number on the radar. It means the 2 which are not having IMO number, they will be warships. So by elimination, you get identified, right? But it is worth checking out as to who's giving them very accurate feed. And I would not be surprised if it is a satellite feed which Iran is hiring from, I think, the Chinese, nobody else.
They
It
also have
cannot.
launched.
Ah,
They also have two satellites launched, Nu 2 and Nu 3.
yeah. So, or, you know, sometimes they do a co-development and co-launch. Like we have launched satellites for so many countries. The European Union uses us left, right, and center. We have also launched American satellites because the rocket was not free. So this is a business, full-time business. There's nothing to do. It is quite possible that they made their own satellite and it was taken to China and it was launched on their rocket. The second thing is because now they have that intercontinental ballistic missile, that rocket itself can take you into orbit.
Yes.
So, but I don't know officially if they have launched their own rocket and placed the satellites in the low Earth orbit. That is what you need. Low Earth orbit has got a slightly lower endurance because the friction is much higher. It's closer to the atmosphere of this Earth.
Yeah, they both the satellites are launched by Quds rockets.
Okay,
Yeah.
by Iranians only.
Iranians
Yeah,
only.
it's okay. Then it's okay. Then it's
Low orbit, like you correctly
low,
said.
LEO. LEO.
Once in 90 days, 90 hours. They rotate the Earth.
Once in 3 hours.
90 hours. Once in it is says, I mean the Wikipedia data is itself questionable, so we don't
Yeah, it's
know.
quite possible because see, it is going around the Earth.
Yes.
So when it comes back to the same place, it could be possible.
Yes.
90 hours, yes.
Yes. It's a 90 hours
Oh, then they must be getting it from their own satellite.
from their own satellite.
Yeah,
Yes.
quite possible.
So
Technically, the Iranians are very advanced.
mm,
Technically, they are very advanced. You see, ICBMC now they are doing very close to making the nuclear weapon and launch mechanism. The number of missiles they launched on Israel last year, some 200 of them or something, and one after other. That only shows that they have a solid infrastructure where 200 missiles can be launched simultaneously.
yes.
So, and I know they're quite good in the head.
They have our genes, right? So they
Yeah,
have to have the same mindset.
civilizationally, yes, quite right.
Civilizationally, yes. Like the
Yeah,
entire region is our genes.
that's correct. I mean, the Persian civilization is what India had the influence for a very long time.
Very long time. They were so. One last question, actually. So in the recent conflict, and you said the two aircraft carriers of India laid out, didn't that leave the third India's east front non-defended, undefended? What do you say?
You see, you don't require the aircraft carrier everywhere. And at the moment, as far as military threat is concerned, which requires aircraft carrier, it does not exist on the East Coast. On the East Coast, the powerful ships, um, are all there with the Eastern Naval Command. They are always on duty. Second thing is that let us say if there is an emerging threat, right? We don't have any sort of period of tension on the east. There is worry. There are concerns. You asked me about Bangladesh last time, I think. So there are concerns, but that doesn't call for any military action at the moment. And if required, carrier can easily be dispatched. 600 miles a day it can do. So, in a couple of days he'll be there. Second thing is the aircraft carrier has got aircraft. So those aircraft can reach so many more miles. It doesn't have to be there exact. You see, the good thing about naval warfare is by and large that is no contact warfare. You actually don't see your enemy physically. If you see physically, then something has gone wrong. You're too close to getting sunk. It is either you sink it or get sunk. There's no third way to survive at sea. But those things happen very rarely. Very rarely. I don't think that after Second World War, if there has been any such where these ships have come in visual contact and fired at each other. No, that is because now the radar, satellite, you get to know so much in advance. That is, but the good what you I'll bring you back to that question that you asked me how aircraft carrier because the space it's a channel is not very big. Red Sea relatively it is not open sea, so it gives chance to the missile that much more not to go astray. Missile can, when it is seeking its target, there are fewer targets in which it is seeking the contact. And the largest contact that it paints, it goes for it. So largest contact will obviously be aircraft carrier. 1 लाख टन का जहाज है वो तो पेंट उसके उसके होमिंग हेड में इतना बड़ा पेंट करेगा ही करेगा. So it's only smaller ships which don't paint. They come in small contact, just like rice, little bigger than rice. So this is East Coast. If required, it can go. Second thing is the distances are such that our land-based aircraft can reach right up to Andaman Nicobar Island. So there are maritime strike squadrons of the Air Force. Then we have very large number of airfields in eastern India. Eastern Air Command is very well sort of all. You have Mirage 2000, you have MiG-29, you have Su-30, you have Rafael in Bhuj. I think one or two squadrons of Rafael are there. Some of them may have moved to west now because of this an operation that was going on. But I think hopefully it should have scaled down. Though India has not declared the end of Op Sindoor, that's a good reason that this is just to tell them that look, I mean we are ready. You do one more act of terror, there will be war. Very clearly they have said. I know that a lot of countries have not liked it, but be it as it may, because it's our own security, our own safety. 26 people being bloody killed in cold blood is really sad. That you don't feel like seeing those pictures.
Just one question we have. MiG-29K has been proven as a success now. Like like even Russian planes are different, and MiG-29K has been proved to be different. How effective that has been as compared to, and also Tejas naval prototype also took part in the operations. I heard.
Aditya, MiG-29K, though it is called MiG-29, but there are very few similarities. The engine, the aircraft construction, the electronics are quite different. In fact, jokingly, I had mentioned to their chief test pilot once when he had come to Bangalore Air Show, long back. I was still in service. I had suggested to him that your MiG 29K cockpit is so different Oh, you know, you can sell this aircraft in a different name. So when he had brought for air show, I had met him, Pablo Blasso, chief test pilot. So when I met Blasso, because I had flown with him earlier, so he knew me. Yeah, that's correct. That's it. So I said, I hope, and it came as a MiG 35. So I said, I hope you have done that. He said, Admiral, we have taken your suggestion. Go and have a look at the cockpit, same as your aircraft. So it is different in the sense that because it is an air interception at sea, the radar is different. So the Zook ME, very, very good radar. Very, it can see miles. The fire control system, which controls the air-to-air missiles, what is called the A7 and A11. It's both Air Force and Navy both have it. Again, fairly long range. Then it has got air-to-surface weapons. For hitting the ships, not for land targets. The engine which you're showing now, engines are modular, and the life is little longer than the Air Force engine. It is same RD-33, but RD-33 MK meaning Mark 1, Mark 2 or something like that. MK is Mark. Now, life is little more and it is more corrosion resistant because it flies over sea, obviously. Now, you mentioned about Russians and all. The Russians don't have MiG-29K. It was developed for Indian Navy. That is why, because it's a development aircraft, some of the existing MiG-29s, they were converted into 29K, and that was giving us a lot of problem. So initially the serviceability was poor because when it comes to land and hits the deck, the impact is quite a lot. You know, and the airframe, because it was Air Force aircraft earlier, and the modifications were not good enough. So sometimes the flap will crack, sometimes the airframe will crack. So these things were happening very. Also, on the landing, the shock which is delivered to the engine and inside, it's got two engines. One of the engines, the fuel pipeline used to get snapped, and we used to lose one engine, is to switch off. Of course, you could fix the pipe again. It took us few years to sort out all. But the Russians, I must say, they accepted all this. They were there. They were there to whenever aircraft was disembarked, they would be called. They would see it. There was a support team. They would fix it, and you fly it again. But we bought in total, I think, 45 aircraft. So after the first lot, the ones which were being built, they were all nicely modified, correct aircraft because they were built from scratch. Those aircraft are very good. It flies well. The engine is very powerful. And by the way, it is a fly-by-wire aircraft. The first Russian fighter which was fly-by-wire.
Wow.
So we have had some problem, and it's quadruple system. It means there are four redundancy. It can have three failures of fly by वायर चार सिस्टम है वन इज वर्किंग वो फेल हो गया दूसरा टेक ओवर करेगा वो फेल हो गया तीसरा टेक ओवर करेगा so it caters for three failures. That is why it is a quadruple system, which is not there normally. But they wanted to make sure that it doesn't fail. But I would say that now the Navy is not going for 29K because they also want to advance. 29K का हो गया करीब 15 साल तो हो ही गया 2012, 11, yeah, almost 15 years. So इन 15-20 साल में जहाज की टेक्नोलॉजी वगैरह भी थोड़ी धीरे धीरे and after that the Russians made it for themselves also. Then they started flying same aircraft. But we wanted to shift to Western aircraft. We bought Rafael, 36 of them. Government has also agreed to buy Rafale M, which is a naval aircraft. for the second aircraft carrier. So, I mean, it should keep improving. Even that is not, fifth generation aircraft as they call it. It's only about four and a half. So I think US has offered F-35 to India, but I think possibly it may not be possible for India to fund F-35. It's a very expensive aircraft compared to the Rafael.
If the
So
if the
I think that,
costs are lower, then do you think India will go in for it?
sorry.
If the costs are lower, then will India go in for it?
I would think so. I would think that if the cost is comparable to what they are buying, I would think that it will be in India. Actually, see, there are two things. Second problem is not that. The problem is the reliability of US as a government. Depending upon who's the president, they can have a different view. You put a sanction, you say no, we'll not give you any more. It goes more on whims and fancies, unfortunately. So we have, at least my own feeling is that we are still not sure as to how much will be. For example, we bought the Boeing P-8I. I was there right from the inception till negotiation, and we had such a lot of time wasted because US wanted number one end user certificate. You will not use it against one, two, three, four, five. We will require so and so photograph. We will require so and so. So finally, I said, sorry, in that case, I'll have to suggest to my government that call it off. Because, we don't work under these kind of limitations. We are, Indians are, as it is, quite autonomous in their
Yeah,
thinking.
like you give them the money and then you
Yeah,
it's like
just
buying a car and then you
yeah,
cannot go to Los
yeah.
Angeles.
And bugger off. I mean, you have your support team. You give that you will have 30 years of what is called maintenance support, etc., etc. But to know where am I going to use it, you want some film, you want me to use your electronic support measure. I'm sorry, this is not how we operate. It doesn't suit you, it's okay, fine, because we already had a second uh, manufacturer who was ready to give. The Airbus was willing to give us in the Airbus 32, not 32, Airbus 350, a huge. We have already gone and flown that aircraft actually. So they would have given you all this high funda stuff, and it is an Anglo-French. So you have best of European technology. All these countries are part of this.
Airbus,
Yeah, four countries: Spain, Italy,
Spain, Germany,
UK,
Italy, and
UK,
UK,
France, and
France.
Germany. Five. And you got, they are quite advanced in the technology.
Then how did they go in for P8I and people love it? Indian
No, no,
Navy.
we did. They said we'll come back to you. So we didn't call it off. I said we'll have to call it off. We do not want these restrictions, right? Where I use, what I use it for, whose submarine am I tracking? I mean, come on, you know whose submarine I will track. I'm not going to track US submarine. You are my friend.
But will that also happen in case the US turns rogue? We'll have to track their submarine too.
I don't know. I mean, this is the problem. Problem is that how reliable will that be? It's a very difficult thing to. You see what is happening. You see yourself right now. You had a change of president. You see how many things are happening.
Absolutely. Every 4 years is something new.
Yeah. So that is the problem. Problem is
Even for Americans, I'm
oh yeah,
talking.
yeah. I come here every year, 3 4 months I spend. I know what is happening here. I know how the costs are going up, how Americans are actually getting impacted. Ultimate impact, the taxes cost is passed down to every American.
Every American. It's like
A
you're living
common,
in a
yeah,
cooperative. We are paying to live.
absolutely. Yeah. So I would say that these are the problematic areas a little bit, particularly for now. So many countries have it. So many countries have it because they're mostly NATO countries or they are your allies. They have no choice but to remain with you. India is not that. India has a choice. We go to France, we go to Israel, we go to Russia. And now we have tie up with French. We have been having, in fact, Americans are the last entrant into the weapon supplies because till 1989-90, till the Soviet Union was in place, Americans always thought that we are in the Soviet camp. That is because we bought machines from the Soviet Union. We bought it because it's a history, because the Americans declined to give it to us. In 1962, when we were at war with China, Pandit Nehru spoke to the president and he said, I'm sorry, we can't give it to you.
I mean, these guys are
Because
very
they thought we are part of the Russian Empire, which is not true. So we bought. In fact, till 62, we had not bought anything from Russia. It all happened after the 65 war. Till 65, we were living in our own aircraft, NATS, Mystère, all Anglo-French and Anglo-British. It is only when the Soviet Union collapsed in 89, the US Navy, which was based in Bahrain, Fifth Fleet is located there, the CENTCOM types. They used to come out in the Arabian Sea and they used to see us every time. Then we started talking on the normal open channel because they wanted to be sure that we are not Soviet. They always thought that Soviet chaps are on board the ships and operating. Can you imagine? Such low opinion. वो तो छोड़िए आदित्य जी. My son has shifted into a new house in this area. One of his neighbors came one morning to say hello to him. And he looked at him very surprised. He said, Indians speak English? What do you do with such people? Tell me. They in fact, problem is not that. Problem is now, of course, they've started going on. Most of the Americans think the world is America.
exactly.
There's no world beyond that
There
because
is
everything
no
is here.
yeah. For them, the world means America and Europe. That's it.
Not even Europe. I don't think many of them have gone anywhere outside America.
नहीं फिर भी उनके मन में रहता है उनका चर्च वहां से है ना सो द चर्च इज फ्रॉम देयर सो फॉर देम
I agree, but many of them have not been outside America. Most of them. So the
only
point is
only
that
30% Americans have passports by the
yeah,
way.
the worldview is quite
Yes.
so. That is the problem of buying American equipment. It took us long time. We started negotiating in 2000, 2002, 2003. And finally, the aircraft came in 2013.
Wow. 10 years.
And no problem. Problem only on,
Agreements.
no, you sign this, you sign Lemoa, you sign this, Comcasa, you sign Beka, you know. And we had problems. In fact, when Lemoa came, the CIA director who became foreign secretary
Pompeo.
of state, huh? Pompeo. No, not Pompeo. No, before
uh
that, I'm talking about
yeah
2000. Huh?
yes, yes. I'll tell you.
2010, 11.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying. Real estate, which is
Only yesterday I saw him on the TV.
it is mm, it's Secretary of State is right now. I don't see right now, but
No, no, I'll tell you just now. Just a minute.
yes,
I'm terribly sorry because he's a good man. You
uh,
see, he was the guy. He was
uh,
in Obama regime time.
uh, Anyway, we'll find out. It is Marco Rubio, Edmund Muskie, Alexander Haig, Charles Van Hughes, Jennings Bryan, Walter Grisham.
How come I was surprised his name is not there?
I'm telling you, that's why I have a problem here also to see that.
Oh, this list is not correct then.
Yes, yes, it's not complete. It's not complete.
Some names are
Anyway,
missing.
yeah. Anyway, let's be. Yes, we'll find out. Our viewers will tell us. So, so, uh, so, like in the end, how do you see the future? The amount of pressure they are putting on India to buy American weapons, and Lutnick said that India is rubbing US the wrong way. What do you have to say to
Yeah,
that?
see, point is that I find that there is a lot of disparity between Donald Trump 1.0 and Donald Trump 2.0. Now, this issue of buying oil, weapons, S300, S400 came when he was the president earlier. And there we had explained that why we have to buy because it was a legacy, and all our the architecture of the air defense was based on which would match the S400, and that is why we were buying, and that is why it was taken out of the ambit of CATSA. The Act CATSA sanction against the countries which are buying arms trading with the enemies of US. So India was taken out of that for both, either for buying oil, which was done in the time of President Biden or President Obama, and in the time of President Trump, it was taken out of CATSA. Now his same thing is again they're raising this issue.
We to want their kind of sanctions. Put on sanctions some to India.
No, I have a feeling that it is the problem of the administration. It is not problem of President Trump because President Trump's view was very clear in 1.0. And how is this changed? It is changed because he's getting this kind of inputs from the administration. Okay, because the trade secretary does not have any business to talk about weapon supplies and all that. That doesn't come under his ambit. It's the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense. So I find it a little strange that he is. So obviously, they are giving very incorrect input, and what will happen? It will only widen the gap between the two countries.
True,
And this relationship has taken many years to build.
true.
I mean, I go back to 1993 onwards, it has built. So
Yes.
we are already talking about so many years, almost 30 years. So if that has to be bloody cut into pieces, then be it what the hell. Because if we can't afford, we can't afford. Simple. पैसा नहीं है हमारे पास खरीदने का उतना. Maybe when the economy improve, maybe we'll end up buying more of
Hey,
European
India
weapons.
will make their own. Why will they buy all the time?
We are as you mentioned, the LCA Navy also participates, but we don't have in very large numbers at the moment. We have made the second one. The government has just approved to have a public-private partnership. So the first time that for fighter aircraft for the AMCA, the medium range AMCA, which is now being built, they have invited private companies, and I believe that Tatas will be bidding because Tatas are very passionate about aircraft.
Yeah,
So
Jamshedji Tata was one of the first to
yeah,
bring Air India.
yeah, 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 correct. So so the I feel that now that the private sector is coming on board, we will get the technology from outside also much easier, and Tatas also know that what it takes to have relationship with America, what it takes to have relationship with Europe. That is why They wanted to buy 500 commercial aircraft. They had ordered 250 on Airbus and 250 on Boeing. The moment during the administration of Biden, when they started giving all this input that we'll start putting you sanction, etc., etc., the first thing Tata did was to Boeing. He said, "Okay, our orders are on hold." 250 aircraft, you would have given bloody job continuation to so many people in Boeing. And you see what
14,000.
happened to Boeing afterwards. Boeing has gone through so many problems. One CMD resigned, other chap has come, nobody wants to take over, going down in loss. That is because of the American policies, government policy. Not so much to do. It's no businessman's fault.
No, even now we see the General Electric not able to supply engines to India on time.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
that's the
Serious
thing.
problem to India.
There is a problem. In between, they slowed down because of Trump. Now they have started.
No, but again, it is very slow. The program is
Is it?
pushed by 3 years
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
3 years. I mean, we can go on and on, but
That's what I'm saying. The reliability, dependability on the US is quite doubtful, and particularly uh, its leadership as the leader of the free world, its leadership in technology, etc. All of it is under threat at the moment. You see what is happening. The geopolitics is. You have been talking on this. The existing power. And why is Trump saying like this? The reason is I've just written an article. I hope it gets published in a day. In the first post, the you know the supremacy in the world is very toxic, right?
nobody
And
likes a bully. Nobody likes a
yeah,
bully.
so US is intoxicated completely. Now there is a China which is knocking on the door. He say, "Come on, get down from the ladder. I've come." It can't accept it. It gets very what the hell? कहाँ जा रहे हैं हम? And this is the reaction to all that. In fact, that will make it worse.
Even worse.
Rather than think about it and see what changes you can do, it's not that America has declined. No, I've said this on your program. America has not declined. The other chaps have caught up.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
gap has become less. Even now, Aditya ji, America's GDP alone is more than next three guys put together. By the way,
No, वो numbers भी change हो जाएगा
नहीं
because
अभी की बात
purchasing power parity भी अगर देखेंगे तो then
हाँ वो
number is
तो
quite
डिफरेंट है.
less.
But in the absolute terms, when in terms of dollars, this what now
उनका
if
करेंसी वो प्रिंट कर रहे हैं तो like how can you compare the same
yeah,
currency?
now they are saying that you are member of the BRICS, you are helping de-dollarization. He is wrong. Ludwig has to do some study. India is the only country who has made public statement that we are
Yes,
not in favor of de-dollarization.
that's right.
Only country in the BRICS, by the way. We are doing business. How? We are doing a local currency.
Yes,
If
and
Russia has agreed to buy it in if I am buying in dollars, you will not clear it from SWIFT. I need the oil. I have to survive. I can't buy your oil because you're too expensive. You look at the transition. कितनी दूर आना पड़ता है? Transportation.
no, they won't understand. They won't. You said the reason they're intoxicated
Yeah.
with pride. They won't understand the reason that Americans themselves are responsible for de-dollarization, not
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. Yeah. True. I
Period.
agree with you. And de-dollarization is not going to take place so quickly. It's not possible. It is a reserve. Like, who's going to be taking yuan as bloody reserve currency? Certainly not India.
Goldman Sachs is the one who coined the term BRICS.
Yeah. Correct.
Shizo Abe, the
Hmm.
closest American ally,
Hmm.
coined the term de-dollarization.
Yeah.
Where is India in the whole place?
No. And we
No,
are not even
no,
supporting.
they're not even
See,
aware of what they're talking actually.
our bloody forex reserve as on date is very close to $1 trillion. Very close. It's about 700 होने वाला है अभी. And within 1 or 2 years, when the economy hits 5 trillion, you will find the moment you have 1 trillion forex reserve, you will have more flexibility. You can take these Trump shocks कुछ इम्पोज कर दिया, टैरिफ बढ़ा दिया, यू कैन स्टिल take that shock because you have that foreign exchange with you. At the moment, we are not. We cannot take this shock. We will not be able to buy it.
एक्चुअली क्या है कि आई नो वी आर गोइंग पास द आवर नाउ, बट द पॉइंट इज कि India's foreign exchange reserves are not all in US dollars to hedge the bets, to save the Indian economy. So they'll be in dollars, they'll be in Europe, and majority of it is now coming in gold now.
True,
India is the top seven countries which have the largest gold reserves.
true.
और अनऑफिशियल गोल्ड की तो बात ही नहीं कर रहे, हम लोग गोल्ड पीते हैं रास्ते में.
Hmm.
That we are not even counting actually.
True, true. In fact,
Anyway,
they've got this gold bonds in the banks, which a lot of people have given their, and they say it is safe. They give you some interest and all that. So that has helped a little bit, but not certainly not. So everybody believes, oh my God, कुछ हो जाएगा, हमारा सोना चला जाएगा, that kind of thing. So anyway,
thank you so much, sir, because I love to talk to you. You have so much background. Plus, आपका naval aviation background is like a star for me. Like you are like the देवता जैसे है उधर. You have flown a Sea Harrier, which is phenomenal,
chal-
phenomenal, beautiful machine.
it's challenging,
चलिए.
and we
And
know
thank
it.
you. And the viewers, do like करिएगा, share करिएगा. Do tell me your feedback. And I know the show was in English, and but still, let me know your feedback.
वेल
Um,
थैंक यू एंड आप लोग सभी स्वस्थ रहें, खुश रहें और ऊपर वाले को हमेशा धन्यवाद दीजिए कि आपको जो भी दिया है उन्होंने, बहुत लोगों को वो भी नहीं मिलता है. जय हिंद.
Jai Hind.